Hello everybody, my name is Eileen Hernandez and I am project manager for the group The Breaks, and this is our UML model solution explanation video. First we begin with our case diagram. In our case diagram we have two primary actors and one secondary actor. Our two primary actors are the customer and the applicant, and our secondary actor is the shelter. All three applicants interact with the system, but customer and applicant get the system started. First, we'll begin with our actor, the customer. The customer can do one of three things: is surrender an animal, request animal status, or make a payment. A payment can be either a donation or paying a fee or leaving an invoice. If the customer chooses to surrender an animal, a profile will be created for the animal, and that profile will be updated in the profile database. If the customer requests an animal status, the shelter will get that information request and search through the databases. And if the customer makes a payment, the shelter will receive that payment and process it and make an invoice. In order for the applicant to begin the process, they must first submit an application. Once an application goes in, it is received by the shelter, who approves or denies it. If it is approved, a profile is created for the applicant, and then the profile database is updated again. As well as submitting an applicant, they will also submit an appointment/interview time, which the shelter receives and confirms. To recap with our shelter/admin actor, they will first receive an application from an applicant and either approve or deny the application. If the application is approved, a new profile for the applicant is created and the database is updated. If an applicant or a customer wishes to get information from the shelter, the admin will search through the information requested and go through all of the databases. And finally, if a payment is received from the applicant or the customer for a donation, for a fee, or for any invoices, the admin processes this payment and creates an invoice. And finally, the shelter will also confirm appointment times given by the applicant. Now we're going into our domain class diagram. In the domain class diagram, the shelter/admin class is pretty much the powerhouse. The system will usually start with the applicant class. In the applicant class, it has the attributes of name of the applicant, contact information for them, the interview time for them, and the application date that they sent in. And the application class can either submit an application, submit their appointment time, and they will get any notifications for the application status. Assuming the application is approved, we go back into the shelter admin class, and the admin class has animal capacity, addresses, the address for the shelter, and all databases, which include, of course, the applicant, the animals, the adopters. Some methods of the shelter class include reviewing applications, confirming appointment times, and creating/updating new profiles. Once the application process has concluded, we now have the adoptee class. The adoptee class will include attributes such as name, age, background information, phone number, and email address, just more contact information for the adoptee. Methods for the adoptee include logging background information, setting any adoption holds. For example, if the house check didn't pass, some background checks didn't pass, there will be a hold on the adoptee's account so they cannot adopt. And we can check if any payments have been missed and if all payments have been accounted for. And also from the application class comes the animal class. Some attributes of the animal class will include name, species, breed, sex, medical information for the animal. Attributes for the animal class will include setting animal adoption statuses like adopted, not adopted, updating the animal database for all adopted and non-adopted animals, and of course logging their medical information. So to summarize, the applicant class kind of begins the system. When an application is put in, it is received by the admin. Once the admin approves, all of the rest will happen. All of the rest being, of course, the adoptee class will be created, and so will the animal class. This is upon approval of the application. If the application was to submit an animal, the application goes right to the animal class. If the application was for someone to be able to adopt, it'll open up the adoptee class. And all of the information is handled by the shelter admin. My name is Eileen Hernandez. I am project manager, and that was our use case and domain class diagrams.
Hi everybody, my name is Jasmine Grijalva, and I'm going over our sequence diagram and our activity diagram. For the sequence diagram, I have 5 different classes. So I have my applicants, shelter staff, Adoptimized data management system, accounting staff, and then our vendors. So in between each of the lifelines, I have our different messages that each of the classes will be communicating to the rest of them. So for the applicants, they have a couple ways they interact with the shelter staff, as well as our system, and even all the way to accounting. So for the applicants, they complete their applications and they send them in to the staff, and then the staff can then create their profile based off of whatever information they used in their application. And then once they submit the application, the shelter staff can review it. Based on their review and their decision, the optimized system will then send back the decision to the applicant via email. So they will then put that into the system, and once it shows that it's in the system and they have granted access to adopt or foster or select any of the different services that the shelter offers, it will then create an invoice for the fees and services, and then accounting will request that fee. The applicant will make the payment, and then once they receive the payment, accounting can then close that invoice, mark it as paid, and from there they can move on to actually scheduling an appointment. So the shelter staff and the applicant will get together and they'll decide what a good time is, and then once the appointment is completed, that pet is able to go to their new owner. And then another action that the shelter staff can do would be like something like to order supplies, and from there that would go to accounting. Accounting would then create that order to the vendor. The vendor would send a statement, and then we would pay those invoices. Yeah, that's our sequence diagram. Okay, so here is our activity diagram, and this one's just going over similar to the sequence diagram, but the activity diagram is more of like a flow chart of the way that the actions would occur, and the way that it'll interact with the system. So I have us starting off with, again, the applicant, and they express interest, and then they will submit their application. Their confirmation will be sent to the applicant. The shelter will then review, and then from there we have a decision whether or not it's going to be approved or denied, and if it's denied, then it stops. We can move on to where it's the application has been approved, and from there the applicant will be prompted to schedule that appointment. Once everything is completed in that appointment and the services are met, they will calculate the fine, if there is one. If the fee is waived, or if they have to create a new invoice, it'll still go on to the next task of updating the pet profile, whether or not their application for that particular pet was approved or not, and if any of the process is going to be continued. And then from there, our shelter occupancy will lower because there'll be less pets in the shelter itself, which will allow for a new pet to be admitted. And the same kind of process would happen where the shelter would add the pet profile. And in the event that the pet would be in need of medical attention, we as a shelter would not be able to provide those services that pet needs, so we can refer them to a vet hospital where they can actually get the care that they need. So from there, if they are healthy and they're ready enough to where the shelter can provide care for them and get them out and adopted, our system will be updated, and then more people will know about the pets that are available, and that's where it ends.
Hello everyone, my name is Ty Welch and I am with the group The Breaks and I am here to go over our state chart diagram. Alright, so I'm just going to start by going over the top section first and then I'll move around where the arrows are going to our end. Alright, so the filled in circle represents our start, and then our first section is going to be which animals are available and what users can look at, all their profiles, stuff like that. So then after that, user submits an application, and that could either be denied by admin or approved by admin. Alright, so if the admin approves the application, the user is able to adopt the animal and then we move on to their transaction. So right here, the payment is pending. Whether it goes through or not, it goes into our records. Alright, the payment's pending. All of our records go in, the application, transactions, all the animal paperwork, the user info, stuff like that. And after all that is done, the adoption is complete and then we have our end. Alright, so that was all of our UML diagrams. We hope you guys enjoyed and we will see you in the next one.